Exterior, woods, dusk. Cold open on a medium-wide shot of a woman, light hair, early 20s, screams college student, facing camera. Camera moves in as she is walking a short distance backwards, slowly, toward what we see as the bed of a pickup truck. She reaches the tailgate, already down, and gently bumps into it with her back. She blows the hair out of her eyes cutely, rests her long, sport-style duffel bag against the open tailgate. She uses her palms to boost herself so that she sits on the edge of the truck bed. She moves the narrow but heavy bag between her legs, grabs it firmly with both hands, and yanks up. Cut 2. Interior, Jeep, dusk. Wide view of back of the driver's head as she drives somewhere. The woman reaches up and hits the icons on the touchscreen, using the Apple CarPlay function until she selects the text icon. Slight pan and slow shallow zoom towards touchscreen. The woman's seat and lower back of her head and right shoulder consume the left side of frame. The focus is on the touchscreen, which now dominates the right side of frame. The woman selects the contact marked Mom, followed by 3 various versions of heart emojis, and presses it.
What would you like to say to Mom?
Ding.
Hi, Mom! Exclamation point. Little late start for me. Sorry. Exclamation point. ETA should be 5:30, so I will see you guys after you get home at 9:30. Question mark.
A pause.
Hi, Mom. Little...
Cassie hits the send button on the touchscreen.
Okay, it's sent.
Camera zooms out and pans back to original position. A pause. Ding. A message window pops up at the bottom of the screen from Mom. Cassie taps the message on the touchscreen.
Mom said, "It's okay, honey, do not apple eyes. Your dad and I won't be back from Springsteen's show until around midnight. I love you, please drive safe emoji of 2 hands kissy face." Would you like to reply?
Ding.
Yes.
What would you like to say?
Ding.
Oh, right! Exclamation point. Well, I will see you guys as soon as I wake up tomorrow. Exclamation point. Tell Dad I said I love him. Exclamation point. Heart emoji.
A pause.
Oh, right.
Cassie hits the send button on the touchscreen.
Okay, it's sent.
A pause. Ding. A message window pops up on the bottom of the screen from Mom. Cassie taps the message on the touchscreen.
Mom said, "Okay, baby. See you in the morning. Your father says love you too. Would you like to reply?"
No.
Okay.
Cassie picks up her clear-cased black iPhone, which has no wire connected to it. We see that the CarPlay home display remains on the touchscreen. Cassie looks from phone to road, road to phone, and back again in this fashion until she finds the contact and clicks the screen button to call him. She brings the phone to her ear and waits. Head cocked slightly towards her right, the side that holds the phone. Suddenly, she straightens her head back to normal. We only hear her side of the conversation.
Hey, you. Oh, yeah. Safely alone until 11. Probably closer to midnight.
Cassie laughs genuinely with a noticeable hint of anticipation.
Yeah? Oh, really? Oh, come on. Even if we only have 4 hours, that's almost 4 hours more than you need.
Cassie laughs enthusiastically, pulling her phone from her ear as though laughing, holding up the phone, and driving are too many balls to juggle. She composes herself.
I'm kidding. God. But seriously, if my dad finds you in the house, he will go berserk and kill you. Yeah, I know. So, you want to try that thing we talked about? Right, that thing. Yeah? Think you're up to it?
Cassie laughs again, almost seductively.
Uh-huh. Yes. Right. And you agree to all that?
Cassie pulls the phone away as she shakes her head slightly to get her hair to lay in a more behaved manner.
I'll commit to my role if you'll commit to yours.
Cassie looks left for a turn. We can see she's biting her lip.
Fully committed, baby. You remember the safe word?
Cassie waits.
Good boy. Yeah. Can I add 2 more little rules?
Cassie laughs, hard and brief.
No, they're not little things. Well, big. Not big. Important. That's the fucking word I couldn't find. First thing, take care of yourself before you come over.
Cassie waits, listening, straightens.
If you can't, for me, with 5 hours of rest in between, then you can't get it up for anyone. I want this to last a long time.
Cassie pulls a cigarette from the giant purse that sits on the front passenger seat, places it in her mouth.
Attaboy. And the second thing is that you need to get me off better than I do.
Cassie laughs and actually slaps the steering wheel.
No concerns about that request, huh? Yeah, well, let me show you something.
Cassie listens to the response. She takes the phone, texts a special picture to her boyfriend as she talks to him. The reaction to the surprise picture on the other end of the call is clearly a positive one.
I can't believe that my new bracelet wasn't the first thing you noticed in that picture. God, I can't wait. Alarms will be disabled. Several windows are unlocked. Yeah. So, you better come through one of them, scary man. But don't break any glass. Right. And make sure you get out before my dad gets home. I know. Oh, and don't be late. I've been dying to try this with you. We've been planning this time together for months, so we can't waste it.
Cassie listens.
Yeah. Just remember, stick to our story. You're breaking in and taking me. You don't know my name, just some random stranger. Right. And if you want to do this right, you better be on time.
Cut 2, exterior street evening. Tracking shot, medium, of a man walking from frame right to left, talking on his cell phone.
Yeah, I know. I got it. I'm literally getting in my car now.
The man ends the call as he reaches his car. He holds it in his hand as he goes to open his car door. Suddenly, a man dressed in all black, wearing a mask, silently appears behind the would-be driver and bashes him in the back of the head with a hammer. The man crumbles immediately. Blood flies as the attacker bends down and smashes the man over and over and over again, blood splattering. The only sound we hear is the sound of a hammer hitting the non-responsive body. Smash cut 2. Camera from trunk perspective. The attacker puts the man in the trunk. He examines his work closely, face shield covering his eyes, before reaching in. He removes a U-shaped bike lock and a 4-pronged tire iron. He reaches back in, searches with his hand, finds a shitty, worn, likely broken pair of jumper cables. He takes these as well. Having foraged sufficiently, he closes the lid on the car's former owner. Smash cut 2. Extreme close-up of victim's phone on the ground. A gloved hand enters frame, grasps the phone, and holds it an inch or so off the ground before turning it over, screen side up. The screen illuminates the attacker. Smash cut 2. Passenger seat perspective. The attacker gets into the driver's seat, starts the engine, plugs the phone in. He scrolls through an interesting text thread before clicking on an address. He clicks the screen 2 or 3 more times.
At the stop sign, make a left turn onto Jackson Street, then a right turn onto Witcham Street.
The attacker puts the stolen vehicle into drive and begins his journey. Sweetener. Interior, Jeep, dusk. Ding! A message window pops up at the bottom of the Jeep's touchscreen from Madison. Cassie taps the message on the touchscreen.
Madison said, "Hey girl, what time you getting in?" Would you like to reply?
Ding!
Yes.
What would you like to say?
Ding!
Hey girl! Exclamation point. Getting in super late tonight. Such a late start to a really busy week. Just gonna crash tonight.
Hey girl.
Cassie hits the send button on the touchscreen.
Okay, it's sent.
Ding! A message window pops up on the bottom of the Jeep's touchscreen from Madison. Cassie taps the message on the touchscreen.
Madison said, "Aw, girl, you sure I could be even just for a mint to say hi?"
A pause.
Madison said, "That should have said mint."
A pause.
Madison said, "God damn it, I hate talk to text." I said, "Minute." Minute. Would you like to reply?
Ding. Cassie sighs.
Yes.
What would you like to say?
Ding.
No, girl. Really not feeling it tonight. Parents at Bruce Springsteen. Looking forward to night alone. But come by first thing tomorrow! Exclamation point. Want to meet Lewis, too. Love you. Miss you. Can't wait to see you.
No, girl.
Cassie hits the send button on the touchscreen.
Okay, it's sent.
A message window pops up in the bottom of the Jeep's touchscreen from Madison. Cassie taps the message on the touchscreen.
Madison said, Okay, baby girl, we'll do ditto. XOXO. Would you like to reply?
No.
Cassie turns the radio up. A song, Fill in the Blank, by the metalcore band Contracts, plays. Cassie very clearly enjoys the song as it transitions from diegetic to embedded into the audio mix. Cut 2. Exterior mansion, early evening. Fill in the Blank by the Contracts continues to play as Cassie walks toward the front door of a glorious mansion carrying a very, very large purse. The camera tracks her close behind. Extreme close-up of Cassie's hand. Cassie uses a light blue house key labeled Home, which hangs from a large keyring with an inordinate number of keys and keychains, including one made of 8 Scrabble tiles that spell out CASSIE blank tile K. The value of each letter is shown in the lower corner of each tile. Her first name and last initial have a total Scrabble point value of 13. She unlocks the front door with a decorative key and opens it inward. Tracking shot, medium close-up, waist height as Cassie enters the mansion. We follow her, seeing the grandeur of its impressive interior. Cassie is clearly happy to return home, taking it all in as if for the first time. Cut 2. Interior, Cassie's house, early evening. Camera tracks Cassie as she moves through the elaborate entryway. She takes in her home. Office, elevator, massive kitchen, portico, vast ceilings, and expansive rooms. She floats into the kitchen to thoroughly inspect the fridge. Without looking away from the fridge or breaking stride, she drops her keys, her iPhone, and her oversized tote onto the gargantuan kitchen island. Wrapping her fingers on the edge of the open fridge door, she stares into it like a cabinet of curiosity, rummages a bit, then makes her selections. She pulls a Diet White energy drink, a half-full bottle of vodka, a pack of shredded Parmesan cheese, a mini bottle of Martini and Rossi champagne, a plastic container of cocktail shrimp. She thinks for a second, grabs a second energy drink, orange this time. Her arms packed with her haul, she turns, rises to the balls of her feet, and firmly closes the door with her hip. Smash cut 2. Interior living room, later. The ornate coffee table is littered with the corpses of many elaborate concoctions Cassie created. Freed from the culinary prison of her collegiate independence, Cassie's inner gourmand has run amok. Static shot at coffee table level. A mostly melted mush of a screwdriver, orange energy drink instead of orange juice, sits next to her comfortably socked right foot. A half-full mimosa, orange energy drink instead of orange juice, sits next to her left foot. The vodka bottle, too empty for drinks we see, sits dead center. Vacant trip tails sit precariously atop the overturned cover of the now vacant container they recently occupied. Cassie, her legs holding the Bartholomew and Simon positions of her modern, munchy-fueled Last Supper homage, eats shredded cheese in pinched portions she takes from the pile resting on her open palm. She does not let a single shred of cheese fall away from her grasp. No shrimp tail escapes the upturned lid. No rivulet of moisture travels from the bottles or the glasses past their assigned coasters to mar the mirror-like surface of the table. The bottoms of Cassie's socks are as white as the tops. They could have been opened from a fresh pack somewhere between the fridge and the giant leather sofa. She eats her cheese, not a care in the world, as some scene of a group therapy session plays on the massive TV in front of her. Cut 2. Interior kitchen, later. Cassie returns the bottles, glasses, dishes, garbage to the kitchen. She shows no physical indications of the alcohol she has consumed. The bottles, cans, and the container are emptied, rinsed, placed in recycling bins. Her movements through the kitchen are balletic. The glasses are rinsed to the point of cleanliness before she places them neatly into the dishwasher. She dries the narrow area of the counter between the sink and the edge before hanging the towel neatly, straight. She sachets to the fridge once more. She removes another white energy drink in a fluid, poetic motion, never letting the door cease movement before closing it behind her. She walks past the counter, past her purse, past her keys, past her white iPhone as she glides out of the kitchen. Cut 2. Interior, Cassie's room, minutes later. Lights turn on, erasing the total darkness of the massive bedroom. A 4-post bed dominates the brightly decorated bedroom. Cassie sighs in melancholic relief at the joy at the familiar bygone sight. Plush and immaculate carpet covers the floor. A beautiful dresser devoid of all but a few photos left behind when Cassie moved away for school sits dustless and welcoming against a far wall. Collage-style photos of large gatherings and other assorted friend groups adorn the matching and expensive furniture of the wonderful private space. Though smaller than the dresser or bed, it's the beautiful, individually lit vanity that draws the attention. Surrounded by bright bulbs and centered by a massive pristine mirror and oversized drawers, the vanity is a wonder. The word Cassie in carefully arranged oversized Scrabble tiles is mounted on the wall where it meets the crown molding above the incredible furnishing. Cassie enters her room with reverence and pride. Tracking behind Cassie, she stops, lifts her left ankle until it's even with the top back of her left leg. Balancing on her right foot, she removes her left sock. She repeats the process with her right foot. She balls the socks tightly and tosses them a very short distance into a canvas hamper marked laundry. She walks on slowly, stopping once to make fists with her toes on the soft carpet, before stopping at her vanity and clicking a button to turn on its decorative fairy lights. The switch triggers 2 previously inconspicuous lava lamps into very labored bulbous life. They emit ambient yellow light on one side of the vanity, blue on the other. The long cooling and solidified waxy balls in the lamps contribute none of the ambience for which such baubles are known. Cassie smiles at the display before disappearing entirely into a darkened closet. The closet light blinks into brilliant life. Cassie's misbehaving shadow plays uncannily on the walls and ceiling. The camera slowly pulls out of the bedroom. Cut 2. Interior, Cassie's room later. Overhead. Cassie lays in her bed, actively relaxing in a corpse pose. She wears loose, thin, comfortable joggers and an oversized Contracts band t-shirt. Her beautifully manicured, red-polished fingernails give no indication of her perfectly manicured black toenails. Her hair enjoys spreading out on the bed as much as she does. Stretching one final time, she rises. Cut 2. Camera tracks Cassie as she slowly walks to her vanity. She puts her hair in a high, tight ponytail as she completes the short journey to the vanity. She pulls out her chair and sits down. Leaning in, she switches on the harsh and unforgiving mirror-side bulbs and checks her look in the mirror. She is expecting company and intends to be ready for him. Extreme close-up on hands. Her fingers peruse the meticulously organized collection of makeup occupying the real estate of the fancy dresser. They delicately brush over the caps of numerous bottles of nail polish, bronzers, lipsticks, concealers, powders, eyebrow pencils, primers. The crimson-nailed fingers come to rest on top of an assortment of eyeliner. The fingers dart back and forth in an unintentional charade of eeny-meeny-miny-mo between a few of the couple dozen pencils. The numerous pencils vary in size, each a different name or number, though to the untrained eye they do not appear to differ greatly in color. Cassie's trained eye and practiced hand select the perfect shade of black. Pan to Cassie in profile. She goes to work on her eyes until she's achieved the level of vulnerable, irresistible sexiness she was going for. Pan to extreme close-up hands. She recaps the eyeliner with a surgeon's hands and returns it to its assigned position. Pan to Cassie in profile. One final close-up examination in the mirror provides her with what she needs. Cut 2. Static of Cassie center frame at her vanity. Cassie checks the drawers of her vanity, looking for something. She goes one by one until her third selection, the large bottom right drawer of the vanity. She pauses, hand still on the pull handle as she looks into the drawer. Letting go of the handle, she turns off the mirror side lights and pulls her chair a couple feet further away from the vanity. She no longer needs the mirror. Standing, she walks toward and past camera, turning out the main bedroom lights. The room is aglow in the gentle decorative lighting of the fairy lights and the now lively and inconsistent glow of the dual lava lamps. She walks back into view and sits in the pulled-out chair. She shimmies slightly to loosen up before she looks back at the open drawer. She reaches in and reverently removes a magic wand vibrator from a leatherette pouch inside. She unwinds a power cord from around the handle and plugs it into a small surge protector. She sits straight up, spreads her legs apart, puts the wand between her legs, turns it on. She gasps in exquisite pleasure as the machine comes to life. Slow pull-out as her pleasure intensifies. The streaking lights of passing cars, more frequent at this hour but still quite infrequent, wash over her walls like a lighthouse beam over a calm sea. Cassie doesn't notice. Her moans intensify. One such streaking light stops midway through its course across her wall, stops. Cassie doesn't notice. She increases the power on her machine and her moans grow louder. Other headlights streak their way across the wall in the same pattern, overlapping with the one that stays. Constant. Camera continues to pull out. Cut 2. Montage of Cassie's house. Cassie's wildly intensifying moans fill the rooms of the mansion in different ways. They echo distantly in the living room. They're muffled by the thick walls of the large powder room downstairs. They bounce around the kitchen. They sound as though they're being broadcast through outdoor speakers in the dining room. They are abrupt and piercing at the front door. They are magnified at the foot of the stairs as they crescendo at her climax. Cut 2. Cassie's room. Close-up, profile, Cassie at her vanity. Her fast, intense breathing normalizes. Her tight ponytail is loosened in a barely perceptible way. The buzzing of the machine is the only sound in the room before she remembers the machine and clicks it off. Cassie begins to put it back, thinks twice, sets it on the vanity's surface, where it slowly rolls into a resting position against the carefully displayed cosmetics. She switches the mirror lights on. Using a dry makeup wipe, Cassie dabs her forehead for any sweat, checks her eyes for any imperfections. This is good makeup. There are none. As her keen senses continue to return to her, she looks to the crotch of her joggers, pats it gently with her hand. Smiles, relieved. She closes the open drawer and rises to turn her bedroom lights back on. Returning to the vanity, she breathes into closed hands to check her breath, sniffs at her armpits. Finally, she smell checks the wand. All are good. Cut 2. Exterior, Cassie's house, evening. The lights shining into Cassie's bedroom and shining on an unimportant swatch of high wall, crown molding, and stucco ceiling switch off. The attacker sits behind the wheel of his ill-gotten car. Cut 2. Interior, attacker's stolen car. His eyes, visible only in the rearview mirror, gaze at the only light shining on the second floor of the gorgeous mansion across the street. He pats various parts of his body to ensure his knives, his phone, his Zippo, his hammer, his cigarettes, his mace, his zip ties, and his other assorted instruments of his hobby are present and accounted for. There is a place for everything in his vest, and everything is in its place. He begins to breathe heavily out of necessity as he applies the lower portion of his ghastly mask for his short journey to the house. He reaches for the small nylon duffel on the passenger seat. Random metallic objects snuggle together inside as he moves the duffel to his lap, where they rattle as their snuggling ceases. He places the upper portion of his mask on, checks for any traffic, and exits a dead man's vehicle. He very casually makes his way across the dark, beautifully maintained, quiet road toward the impressive behemoth of a house where Cassie readies herself for her boyfriend's visit. Interior, Cassie's house. Cassie has regained her cool, collected, excited demeanor. She dance skips down the main staircase and into the kitchen, swiftly to the fridge for something to increase her calm and decrease any level of inhibition that might be lingering. She whistles as she searches the fridge for the perfect drink, tapping the edge of the fridge door confidently as she gazes. The 1/2 full bottle of Chardonnay will do. Satiated sexually, at least until her man arrives, she is too cum-drunk for wine glasses. Closing the fridge, she removes the cork from the bottle and tosses it onto the island with profound nonchalance. She sips as she walks out of the kitchen, heading for her bedroom to wait for the sound of the door closing. Her bare footfalls echo softly underneath her anticipatory whistling as she makes her journey, stopping entirely only when she reaches the runner in the upstairs hallway. The door to her bedroom closes in the distance. A faint rattle like a spray paint can being primed wafts in from off-screen. A soft sound, more suggested than heard, follows on its heels. The attacker steps into frame from his hiding place near. He inspects the contents of the mostly vacant kitchen island. He looks carefully around at his surroundings, finally fixing his gaze at a spot on the countertop near the sink. The attacker picks up a beautiful, thick glass container of olive oil and walks toward the island. He removes a bunch of bright yellow bananas from a decorative copper plate and replaces them with Cassie's phone. The plate isn't deep, but it's deep enough. He pours the olive oil over the phone until it is entirely submerged. The sound of the procedure is oddly satisfying, though barely audible. The device reacts poorly to the immersion. The attacker taps the screen with his leather-gloved index finger. The device does not react. Cut 2. Interior, Cassie's bedroom. Cassie drinks from her bottle of chilled wine as she examines her impressive collection of lipstick. There are many versions of the barely different shades of red in the amalgamation of lip enhancers. She swallows and places the bottle down, never taking her eyes from the chosen shade of red. She removes the cap, twists it, looks at it closely. She didn't hear her attacker enter the house using a hide-key that was painfully obvious. She didn't hear him place the olive oil indelicately on the counter. She has the house to herself. She has made all potentially intrusive friends aware of her unavailability. Her boyfriend is coming any minute. Her phone is downstairs. She can take the time to make sure this bright red shade is the bright red shade for the evening. Shade is the only consideration. This lipstick will not rub off during the night's activities. Cut 2. Downstairs. The attacker moves to the bottom of the main stairwell as Cassie applies her lipstick not far away. He removes the can of insulating spray foam from a deep vest pocket and shakes it slightly. The soft, gentle spray paint sound returns, louder, but far from loud. He extends the can toward the front door and depresses the spray button. Foam snakes up the clear tube slowly, almost silently. It expands quickly, enlarges considerably. In moments, the handle is encased in a thick, sticky mass of rapidly hardening shell. The attacker moves the end of the nozzle to the gap between the door and its frame. Focused on the spots where the deadbolt and handle bridge that tiny gap. He returns the emptying can of gap filler to its home and examines his work. The hardening continues apace. In 2 minutes, less, the hardened shell will require a hacksaw to get through. The attacker directs his attention to the main staircase. Cut 2. Cassie's room. Cassie returns the lipstick to its assigned position, turning it slightly to perfectly match the others, on display for no one but her to see. She continues to wear her anticipation. Cut 2. Stairwell. The attacker moves quietly up the stairway, his driving shoes silent as he moves stealthily. He stops a few steps shy of the second-floor hallway. He makes sure his footing is secure, silent, tactical, before removing a 7-inch hunting knife from its scabbard. The blade glistens. The attacker manipulates the knife's handle in his hand until the positioning of the blade is perfect, the grip firm. This done, he undoes the snap buttons on every one of his vest pockets. He's proud of the custom snap buttons. Quieter than Velcro, don't automatically reclose with the force of gravity. Cassie hears none of this. Cut 2. Cassie's room. Cassie wonders if her outfit is sexy enough. She turns toward her closet, stands, walks to its entrance. She scans its interior, biting her lipstick-free bottom lip.
Nothing is right.
She looks up, a smile rising slowly to her face. Camera holds on her face, head height, as she bends down out of frame. Cassie stays down, her hair popping in and out of view for a moment before she rises again. She walks the black panties she was just wearing to her hamper and drops them in, feeling much freer in her joggers now. She scans her room, making sure everything is perfect, before turning off her bedroom light. She turns toward her vanity as a floorboard in the hallway groans under the weight of something. Cut 2. Upstairs hallway. The attacker freezes at the sound of the groaning floor. He should have stepped onto the runner. He frowns over his pulled-down lower portion of his mask in the darkened hallway.
Fuck!
The attacker becomes a statue. Holds. Waits. Cut 2. Cassie's room. Cassie smiles at the sound. She tiptoe runs to the vanity, kills the mirror lights, grabs the wine, and rushes back to her bed in one silent and fluid motion. Her heart beats wildly. She wonders if she's in control. Taking a sip, she sits on the very edge of her bed, shakes her head a bit as if her face is an etch-a-sketch that needs to be shaken before it can reset to sexy mode. She attempts multiple sitting positions on the edge, trying to arrive at the sexiest. She finds it, and waits. She swells with anticipation as she breathes deeply and quietly. She has reset herself to sexy mode. Eyes on the door, she sips from the bottle, unconsciously leading with her tongue. Cut 2. Hallway. The attacker replaces his mask. His aggressive, deep, slow breathing resumes. He moves toward the bedroom. An eternity passes as he closes the distance. Cut 2. Cassie's room. Cassie stares at the doorknob, willing it to move. She can feel him outside, ready to open her door, ready to play their game. Cut 2. Hallway. The attacker reaches his free hand toward the knob. Lit only by the light sneaking out from under Cassie's bedroom door, he guides his hand as if he's attempting to raise the mast on a newly encased ship in a bottle. The knob is cool on his fingertips. When the last of those digits makes contact with the knob, he grips it like a freshly blown glass bulb. Holding his breath, he turns it with the speed of a sundial's shadow. Cut 2. Cassie's room. Cassie sees the knob turning. Her breath stops as she readies for the passion that's about to walk through her door. Cut 2. Hallway. The attacker opens the door slowly, hoping for the element of surprise. The door opens wide enough to reveal the knife-wielding man. Cassie's expression turns to profound shock, depthless horror. She is frozen, moving not 1 inch as the attacker moves away from camera and into Cassie's bedroom. Cut 2. Cassie's POV. The attacker walks menacingly into the room, slowly. He wants his victim to soak him in as he moves in for the prolonged torture. This is not her boyfriend. Cassie cannot see his eyes through the opaque shield that covers the top half of his face. Its opacity morphs into clarity as it descends below the nose. It's here that the lower portion of the mask can be seen. It looks as though the lower part of his face, the entire jaw really, has been flayed and then burned for good measure. It is a freshly skinned skull's jaw. Her terror is complete as she observes his mask, no semblance of a human face visible beneath it. Slow or not, he has covered the ground. He has her at knife point. Cut 2. Attacker POV. This one will be compliant. He didn't even need to cake the doorknobs. This is going to be a long, fun night. Cassie swings the mostly empty wine bottle with sudden ferocity into the left side of the attacker's temple, dropping him. The attacker falls awkwardly, striking the bed, the doorframe, the door, and floor. He moans in stunned surprise. Cassie, surprised at both her speed and the unbroken wine bottle in her hand, leaps over the writhing man and flees from her room, rushing down the hall, mind fixed on reaching that front door. Cut 2. Bottom of the stairwell. Cassie runs with reckless care down the stairs, fueled by intense desperation. She will escape long before the attacker can recover. As she reaches the front door, she's a quarter mile down the road in her mind. Her brain doesn't compute the issue with the front door. A stone growth has appeared where the handle and lock should be. She claws at it quickly, desperately. Nothing. She whacks at it once with the wine bottle. Nothing. She abandons the door and sprints toward and through the kitchen to the door letting out into the garage. A similar cocoon of God knows what covers its knobs and locks. Panic. She remembers her phone and rushes to the kitchen island. An entirely different genus of shock hits her face as she discovers it soaking in olive oil atop a copper plate. She absently sets the wine bottle on the kitchen island. She grabs at the phone, taps its disturbingly greasy screen. Flickers of light, and no more. Frenzy. She grabs a kitchen towel and attempts to dry it with inhuman speed. She tries the phone again. No help. Cut 2. Cassie's room. The attacker rises, shaken. He maintains the grip on his knife, leaning to the doorknob as the dizzying transition from laying to standing tries to wrestle him back to the floor. He waits, patiently, for reality to settle into its factory preset. He has time. A beat. He breathes deeply once. Twice. A third time. He scans the room as he waits for his legs to regain the ability to carry him through involuntary nervous system movements. The vanity presents a problem, and also a solution. The problem is a laptop. The solution is an impressive-looking bottle of nail polish remover.
Let's do this.
Vanity POV. Holding gently onto the wall with his palm to prevent the room from rotating, he carefully makes his way to the vanity. Undoing the elaborate cap, he empties the nail polish remover onto the keyboard of the laptop. It objects satisfyingly. Emptied, he tosses the bottle aside, lifts the laptop, shakes it slightly, and smashes it cathartically on the edge of the vanity. Cut 2. Kitchen. Cassie hears the laptop as it's murdered and abandons hope for the phone, dropping it onto the counter. She grabs the bottle, her greasy hands betraying her grip. It falls to the hard counter. It doesn't break. She grabs a towel instead and gets as much oil off her hands as possible as she walks toward the knife block on the counter. She removes a large kitchen knife, starts away, stops. POV from floor. She kneels down, placing the knife on the floor against the base of the island, just obscured by overhanging cabinetry there. She opens one such cabinet. Nothing. Opens a second one. The right one. She removes a large, polished marble rolling pin from within. She grins, grasps one of its long, thick steel handles, slaps the polished marble against her palm with a soft slap. The solidity, the heft. This is the right weapon.
Perfect.
She engages flight protocols as she prepares to fight, fleeing the kitchen with the substantial rolling pin, tracking Cassie through the first level as she runs for safety or a superior position. She tiptoe runs, as she did only minutes before. Then she did so in anticipation of imminent physical pleasure en route to intense orgasms. Now she does so in an effort to escape a murderer, a rapist, a terrifyingly masked sadist. Now she tiptoe runs for her life.
The floor is lava. The floor is lava.
Smash cut 2. Static white of TV room. Cassie moves in near silence, rug to rug where possible in search of a viable exit. Her knowledge of her home is denied access to the front of her mind, which is now filled with thoughts of the knife-wielding lunatic almost directly above her. She moves like a mink into the shadow-laden side of a massive fireplace, obscured secondarily by a vase sufficiently sizable to hold a fourth grader with ease. Extreme close-up, Cassie's face. Silently, she collects her breath. She assesses her surroundings, focuses on the darkness beyond the large glass doors.
The courts.
Tracking, continuous, through doors, across a patio, over a long lawn, to a set of tennis courts, the gate to which is open. Smash cut 2. Extreme close-up, Cassie's face. She looks at the handles of the patio doors. They appear unencumbered. She can escape there. She looks up to the ceiling and listens, trying to pin her invader's location. Cut 2. Cassie's room. POV vanity. The attacker picks up the magic wand, lifts shield half of his mask, and inhales deeply. He rubs the outside of it, inadvertently turning it on. Startled by the buzzing, he drops it roughly to the violated vanity top with a bang. The unruly toy vibrates aggressively on the vanity surface, rolling toward the countless beauty products. Dozens of tiny glass containers rattle violently against each other. Carefully placed pencils fall from their homes. The light of the lava lamps, already unruly from the kinetic wax shapes inside, grows more erratic. Cut 2. Downstairs. Cassie hears the bang of the drop and the muffled rhythmic rattling and knows what the psychopath is exploring. More importantly, she has a fix on his location. She dashes for the giant glass doors. Cut 2. Cassie's room. Overhead. The attacker watches this, surprised and confused, for a moment longer before grabbing the machine with its all-work and no-play philosophy and hurling it unthinking across the bedroom. The plug inserted into the surge protector holds. The plug inserted to the business end of the pleasure source does not. POV, vanity area. The wand disconnects itself from its power source, its powerful vibration ceasing the split second before it collides with a bedroom wall. The attacker has regained total consciousness. The lingering traces of the toy he's murdered have given him renewed motivation to complete his task. The attacker makes his way toward Cassie's bedroom door and the quiet of the large, empty house beyond. Cut 2. Exterior, Cassie's backyard, night. Static long shot from yard. Cassie disengages the simple door latch and opens the patio door with no issue. Camera pans, following her progress. She runs along the rear of her house and checks the rear door to the garage. Locked. Without hesitation, she sprints across the remainder of her lawn for the high-caged tennis basketball courts. Carrying the rolling pin like an Olympic sprinter with a terrible case of stage fright, she covers the distance and slams into the cage door. She shakes the always loose C-shaped latch from horizontal to vertical, allowing the door to swing easily open. Smash cut 2. Exterior, tennis, basketball courts, night. Camera tracks Cassie as she flies across the courts. Her feet, exposed, rap rhythmically with every step. She cruises through the open gate separating the two courts and beelines for the far door, the one that leads to her driveway. To freedom. Cut 2. Exterior, driveway outside the tennis courts, night. Static of Cassie through the fence as she reaches it. Cassie operates on muscle memory as she reaches the final door. Failing to register the active resistance of the door despite its disengaged latch, Cassie keeps her gaze through the fence, disbelieving the truth of the failing mechanism. Cut 2. Camera pans down, following Cassie's eyes as they move to the latch. A U-shaped bike lock holds the steel pole of the door's edge to a larger, thicker, concrete-supported steel pole of the cage. It is immovable. Cassie analyzes. No space to crawl beneath the door. No way to scale this fence on account of the green PVC screen on its high, way too high, upper section. Cassie screams the loudest silent scream in history. There is no time. She turns and runs back the way she came. Cut 2. Interior, house, night. The attacker, sore but otherwise fine,
Thank you, face mask.
reaches the bottom of the staircase. He observes the front door, still encased.
Beautiful.
He walks unhurriedly to the kitchen. Through the kitchen, checks the door to the garage, still encased. The attacker laughs to himself. His posture relaxes. She's penned in here somewhere. She's not to be underestimated, but she's trapped. Cut 2. Kitchen. The attacker walks slowly into the kitchen. He is a hunter, trying to position himself optimally without disturbing any deer along the way. He meticulously scans the kitchen, moving his head slowly, observing everything. Extreme close-up, attacker's masked face. He catalogs everything, factors in everything he catalogs. Attacker POV. Phone useless, on the counter. Wine bottle discarded. Oily, not far from the Apple-branded brick. Towel tossed casually to the floor. Extreme close-up, attacker's masked face. His ocular scan stops. Attacker POV. An empty slot sits where a knife, the largest of the bunch, kitchen knife, should be. Static shot from kitchen entrance.
Okay then, game on.
The attacker rescabbards his knife and removes his hammer. He slowly makes his way through the downstairs. Attacker POV. The rooms are empty, undisturbed, uninteresting. Tracking the attacker. He floats through them, ready to attack.
Paper beats rock.
A cautious step.
Scissors beat paper.
A cautious step.
Rock beats scissors.
A confident step. Stops. Slow push toward the open patio door.
And hammer beats knife, you stupid bitch.
Close up on the hammer as the attacker grips it tight, readies it. Cut 2. Exterior Cassie's house, night. Cassie has worked her way through the shockingly impassable tangle of hedge bordering the rear of her sprawling lawn. A gap technically exists between the imposing, strong greenery and the tall, wrought iron gate beyond it. Yet the two have become so entangled as to become a singular botanical cyborg of steel and foliage. There is no escape here. There is no passing traffic from which to seek rescue. She must find another place. Did she leave the door open? Where is the invader? Tracking Cassie as she moves silently behind the hedge. She looks for a spot through which she can see the house through the tangled mess of trees. Light shows through the hedge a few inches ahead. Cassie leans in and looks through. Cassie POV. The attacker walks slowly past her spot, looking into it. Cassie freezes. Her breath stops. He passes by. Hadn't seen her. Smash cut 2. Close up, Cassie, profile. Cassie holds her breath for a second. 10 seconds. A minute. Cassie POV. The attacker passes back in front of her hiding place. 40 yards away now. Cassie exhales. The attacker walks to the gate leading to the courts, checks the area, walks slowly to the center of the massive yard. He stops, turns to the hedge, his posture relaxed.
Okay, you didn't leave through the front.
He puts his hammer into a loop on his pants. Christ, are those carpenter jeans? And removes a roll of duct tape from a carabiner attached to his belt.
Latch on the door in the stone fence over there. Doesn't open. Believe me, I tried.
Extreme close-up of attacker's hands. He unrolls an 18-inch strip of duct tape from the roll without tearing it and begins wrapping it around his right wrist. The sound of the unrolling duct tape is a horrible racket. It flies across the lawn to the hidden Cassie. The volume is an ominous testament to its strength. He continues to wrap his left wrist thickly. Layers cover layers that cover layers that cover the sleeve that covers his wrist.
That bike lock that my friend willed to me, it's still locked.
In one swift motion, he tears the tape, removes another long strip, begins wrapping his right wrist, layer upon shirt upon wrist. Back 2. Extreme close-up Cassie's face.
You didn't go back in the house.
Layer on top of layer on top of layer on top of layer. Snap. Cassie's POV. The attacker returns the roll to its designated spot via its designated holder. He removes several obscenely large zip ties from an oversized pocket.
So that must mean you're hiding behind that hedge.
He crosses his arms, raises 2 fingers on his empty hand.
This can only go 2 ways.
Medium close of attacker.
1, you come out, quietly. I do what I came to do.
A beat.
You get hurt, but you live. You haven't seen my face. I won't leave any evidence in you.
Sinisterly.
And I'll clean off any evidence I leave on you.
Over the shoulder of attacker.
2, you don't come out.
The attacker removes the hammer from its loop, regrips it in his free hand. He points the hammer toward the hedge. Cassie POV.
And I have to come in there and get you.
The strength runs from Cassie's body.
I might get cut a few times, but I'll bash the fuck out of you before you do any real damage.
The attacker relaxes, tilts his head.
And then you get hurt. And more hurt. And eventually, while I'm hurting you, you'll beg me not to let you live.
Over the shoulder of attacker.
Choice is yours, Sweets. You have 5 seconds.
The attacker straightens, readies himself.
1,
Cassie POV.
2,
Medium close of attacker.
3,
Overhead behind attacker.
4,
Cassie in profile, medium close. Cassie very slowly adopts a fighter's stance, raises the rolling pin.
5.
Attacker in profile, wide. The attacker returns his zip ties to their pocket. Attacker adjusts his grip on the hammer. Cassie in profile, medium close. Cassie adjusts her grip on the rolling pin. Attacker in profile, wide.
Ready or not?
Cassie in profile, medium close.
Come on down, motherfucker.
Attacker in profile, wide. Camera tracks as he moves toward the hedge. He stops about 15 feet from the hedge, looking for a point of entry. Cassie searches for an advantage amongst her surroundings. She feels the rocks beneath her feet. There's a large one. As if stepping off a mine she hopes she has properly discharged, she lifts her foot, straightens it behind her in a crude approximation of a Warrior 3 pose, picking the rock from the ground. She carefully returns to a 2-footed standing position and waits. Wide over the shoulder of attacker. The attacker continues his Terminator scan of the hedge, sees no clear point of entry.
Fuck did she get back there?
Cassie reaches out the rolling pin as far as she can toward a slightly thick branch that grasps one of the fence's wrought iron vertical posts. She whacks it with the handle. Rattle. The attacker jerks his head in that direction as Cassie urgently returns to her position. He slides toward the location of the sound, slowly, keeping a safe distance between himself and his quarry's shelter. Ground level. The attacker takes a few careful steps, pauses, scans, resumes. The hedge is high, thick, impressive. It seems impossible for a human to slip through the greenery without a chainsaw. Cassie in profile, medium close. Cassie manipulates the rock, searching for the perfect grip. She finds it. Her eyes never leave the kaleidoscopic slivers of lawn in her view. She tosses the stone 5 feet further down the attacker's trajectory. The attacker takes the bait. His body eclipses the light of the house, and Cassie holds her breath anew. She waits. The attacker passes. Cassie waits. Refuses her body's demand to exhale. His hand swipes through the night sky, through the hedge, through the empty space where a beautiful knife-wielding young woman should be. He overswings, stumbles, falls forward. The object he expected to strike isn't there. His body catches on the tangle of intentionally gnarled branches. Cassie seizes her moment. She dives forward, swinging the rolling pin like a carnival strongman's hammer. It connects with the attacker's wrist. The sound of bones breaking is cut off by the attacker's shocked screams. Cassie, gripping the rolling pin for dear life, attempts a clean jump through the hedge, becomes briefly entangled, struggles. She frees herself, but makes no progress before the writhing attacker kicks her hard with his heel, making contact with the lower half of her right knee. Her piercing scream swallows the attacker's bellows. She falls, grabbing her knee with her unoccupied hand.
Ah! You dickless fuck!
She rises to her feet and hobbles, badly, for the relative safety of the open patio door as the attacker carefully frees himself from his trap. He reaches his good hand through the awful dream catcher and retrieves his hammer. Smash cut 2. Interior, house, night. Cassie hobbles through the door, her rolling pin hanging at the end of her tired, overworked right arm. Though hobbled, she moves with a swift purpose toward the front of the house, toward the largest window. Cut 2. Exterior, Cassie's front bay window, night. Cassie approaches camera from the other side of the gorgeous window, its bottom roughly waist height, give or take. Cassie doesn't hesitate. She cocks the rolling pin back as she rushes the window. Smash cut 2. Interior, Cassie's front window. Cassie smashes the central pane, the lowest central pane, a third pane. The glass does not break cleanly. Glass shark teeth line the broken panes.
Shit!
She strikes a solid wooden window support. It doesn't give.
Fuck it.
She uses her rolling pin to push aside the real crystal vase holding fake plastic flowers in the middle of the table-sized windowsill. It wobbles, tips, shatters on the floor. She drops her weapon on the windowsill and places her hands on its edge to assist her leap up to its stage-like surface. She squats down, prepping her body like a pinball spring about to launch a ball. She jumps. Smash cut 2. Exterior, Cassie's front bay window, night. Cassie's right leg sabotages her plans. She barely leaves the ground before screaming and falling to the floor out of frame. Smash cut 2. Interior, Cassie's front window. Cassie writhes on the floor. She has no time to writhe. She pulls herself up, tries a second jump. She succeeds only in pushing the rolling pin closer to the window frame. Falls harder. She can't make it. She has no time. She rights herself again. Rolls onto her left side. She uses her 3 working limbs to get to her knees. Left hand on the window ledge. Smash cut 2. Patio entrance. The attacker kicks the patio door further open. Smash cut 2. Front window. Cassie, motivated by the sound, vanquishes the pain for as long as it takes to regain her feet. She reaches for the rolling pin. Her knee protests. Footsteps grow louder. She abandons the rolling pin, abandons the front window, abandons escape. Flees. She doesn't feel the jagged shards of fine crystal digging into her left foot as she uses it to launch herself away from the approaching footsteps. Tracking behind the attacker. The attacker sprints toward the sound of bare feet unevenly striking the hardwood floor. He catches a glimpse of her turning through the doorway as he reaches the front window, glass crunching beneath his feet. He hears a doorknob rattle, a heavy wood door creak open as he moves through her exit. Her back descends the staircase off the kitchen in front of him like a jack lowering a car in reverse. The door starts to close away from him. He reaches to stop it with the good forearm attached to his bad wrist, miscalculates. His wrist strikes the door's edge, achieving the goal of stopping the door's closure, failing in his effort to protect himself from pain.
Fuck!
He swings his hammer at the shakily descending woman. Smash cut 2. Interior basement floor. Cassie screams. The hammer strikes her left shoulder. The blow, though glancing, is enough to cause her to lose her balance and tumble down the hard, carpeted stairs. The blow is enough for the attacker to keep some of his balance, but not enough to prevent him from dropping his hammer in order to grab the railing to steady himself. Cassie rises awkwardly, but quickly. Staggers like a first-time marathoner with the finish line in view. Overhead, Cassie dives through the basement powder room door, slams it, locks it, falls to the floor. All light is provided by a single outlet-powered nightlight. The door slammed too easily, too softly. It won't hold. Silhouettes of feet appear like phantoms at the bottom of the bathroom door.
You had 2 choices.
There were shit choices, asshole.
The attacker laughs through the bathroom door. Rack focus, Cassie's back to the bathroom door.
I really like your spirit, your essence.
Cassie looks around the small bathroom for a weapon, something sharp, something blunt, anything.
Tell you what, Sweets.
The attacker cackles.
I'll give you 5.
What are my choices again?
Stalling.
I'm hazy from the fall.
The attacker laughs appreciatively.
1, you're close to destroyed.
A beat.
2, I destroy you.
POV of powder room sink, rack focus on Cassie. Cassie's head and shoulders are visible from the vanity type. Her eyes dart around its surface.
1,
There must be something here.
2,
Her eyes move frantically.
3,
Her eyes stop, focus, thinking.
2.
Rack focus from Cassie to the object of Cassie's attention. A cylindrical clear plastic canister filled with neatly vertically arranged tampons. Her eyes move to the door, back to the container, back to the door, stop on the container. She reaches for it, removes the lid, grabs one. Several topple in the process. Her arms work on something below the vanity. Out of focus. She struggles, winces, the faint sound of plastic wrapping tearing in the process.
What?
Okay.
Rack focus from container back to Cassie.
Okay, asshole.
She takes a deep breath. Her eyes are calculating.
Come get me.
Overhead, the attacker kicks in the door with nearly no effort. He storms in. In one short, backhanded swing, he whacks the side of her head, just in front of her ear with the side of his hammer. Cassie drops to the floor, leaning on the razor's edge of consciousness. Cassie's unfocused POV. The attacker leans down, leading with his good forearm, drops his hammer to the floor. He presses his forearm to her throat.
Game time, baby.
The attacker grows hazier, hazier. The world shrinks, fades. Cassie's world goes black. Fade to black. Exterior, SUV, night. Madison, early 20s, dark hair, a serious look, is agitated. Her normal fidgeting has all migrated into one cuticle that her teeth and opposite index fingernail take turns picking at. The movement, hand to mouth, back to lap, back to mouth, stresses Lewis to an intolerable point of aggravation.
What's wrong, babe?
Madison doesn't respond. Picks at her right thumbnail.
Babe?
Madison jerks slightly, eyes widen.
Yeah, what? What's that, hun?
Lewis is worried, not annoyed.
What's wrong?
Nothing.
Lewis presses.
You're doing the nail thing.
Madison looks at her nails. A "you believe this shit" look on her face.
It's nothing. I just... No, it's really nothing. I'm fine.
Lewis's grip at the steering wheel tightens. He exhales, prepares.
What'd I do?
Madison jerks her eyes at the paranoid man.
Nothing, baby. Just annoyed with Cassie.
Because she didn't want you to come by tonight?
Exactly. It's shitty. It's been months.
Lewis looks at the bright red cause bracelet on his left wrist. Be a listener, not a solver. Lewis takes a deep breath, adopts his most diplomatic tone, and dives into the rough waters of Madison's friendship with Cassie.
Something about it being a late start, long drive?
The approach is smooth.
Yeah, like that's so much to handle. She can't even handle her best friend giving her a hug and saying hi for 5 minutes. 5 minutes!
Seriously?
The landing gear is down.
Exactly. That's all it would be. She knew about tonight. She knew you were driving down specifically to get me so we could go to fucking Rush City for Warren's wedding.
Lewis nods, a vision of total understanding. The flaps are lowered.
Literally a pit stop.
That's it. And she knows we're staying at Creekside Farm or whatever up there tonight.
It clicks for Lewis. The nose is up.
And she suggested we stop by tomorrow morning.
Lewis shakes his head. Touchdown.
Yes, right, baby? She doesn't want to see me.
Maybe it's me?
No, it's me. Even if she didn't want to see you, for her to handle it like this, that makes it me.
Madison taps her phone.
I've texted her like 7 times tonight. Literally, just to check if she's home safe. She always tells me she's home safe. We both literally always do.
She shows him the phone.
Nothing. Not even red.
Lewis nods.
I'd be pissed.
Thank you. I'm fucking livid. But I'm worried about her too, and I'm fucking pissed that I'm worried.
Why not stop over?
Madison lights up at the idea.
We couldn't.
Why not? She's got to be home by now. You said her parents have Springsteen tics, right?
Yeah.
Well, she's not going to get home at 11, 10:30, call it a night that close to her parents coming back.
Madison nods agreeably.
No.
Well, where's Bruce playing? Target Center?
Madison looks surprised at his good listening.
Yeah.
Lewis pulls his phone off its mount.
Okay, so?
Scrolling, tapping, scrolling slower, tapping, reading.
The boss has been starting about 10 of 8 each show.
The boss?
Lewis continues to read.
Average show's been running about 3 hours.
Lewis looks up.
Call it 3 hours. How far's Kenwood from the stadium again?
Lewis looks back at the phone.
Like 10 minutes? 15 most.
Lewis nods.
So, let's say concert started at 8, it ends at 11. They got to walk to their car, traffic from the show, so her parents arrive home by 11:30 if no stops?
Latest, yeah.
And this is Kale, right?
Hale.
Hale, sorry, baby. It was all just Minneapolis before you. Hale.
Madison laughs.
You're doing great, hun.
Now, how far is this Kenwood?
15, 20 minutes?
Lewis hands her phone to Madison. The time reads 11:11.
Type her address in for me, would you?
Madison does, and returns the phone to its holder. They head toward Cassie's house. Cut 2. Interior, Cassie's house, night. Cassie's hands are tied behind her back. Her head, bleeding noticeably on the left side, is resting on her chest as she sits involuntarily in her bedroom chair. She is clearly unconscious. The attacker stands over her, looking at her. He leans in, taps her shoulder. No response. He brushes her hair back behind one ear. No response. He checks her hands. Each is still zip-tied tightly to the chair's thick rear supports.
Time to wake up, lover.
The attacker removes a baggie from his pocket, takes a smelling salt from the baggie, snaps it, puts it under Cassie's nose. She unconsciously sniffs once, twice, comes to. Her head moves away from the smelling salt and to her right. Haziness, blurriness begin to fade. The attacker seeks out her nose with the smelling salt. The stench, combined with the sudden realization that she is restrained to her vanity chair, bring her back to consciousness immediately.
You're stuck.
The attacker walks toward her vanity, looks at it, looks at the bed, the walls. He has more time to soak things in now. He stops opposite her bed from her, pauses to stare at a large black, wrapped canvas with a quote falsely attributed to Kurt Cobain. They laugh at me because I'm different. I laugh at them because they're all the same.
He never said that, you know?
Cassie follows his every move, reads the quote. Cassie's eyes are not the eyes of a victim. Her voice has a quality foreign to her, strained from the forearm that has been pressed so tightly against it.
What now?
The attacker turns around.
Now we have fun.
He walks slowly around the bed to Cassie's fixed position. He moves in front of her, stops, towers over her.
Look, bro, I'm as terrorized as I'm gonna get. All my worst fears, I'm waiting for you to do all of it.
The attacker says nothing.
So, if you need me to beg and plead for my life to get it up,
Cassie nods towards his crotch, then toward the knife in his scabbard.
just stick me with the thing that's already hard and get it over with.
The attacker takes shots at the beginnings of various words. Hits none.
You need me to run and scream to make that work too?
All this.
The attacker moves his flat, palm-up hand, palm facing his chest, slowly back and forth between he and the bound woman.
Is part of it.
His tone is calm, the stammer gone.
What's your name?
No hesitation.
Polly.
Wide profile shot of the vanity, slow push in on the wall above the vanity. The attacker and Cassie both look into the giant Scrabble Cassie on the wall. They look back to each other. Over the shoulder and reverse over the shoulder. Cassie still doesn't have the eyes of a victim. The attacker uses his foot to tap-kick Cassie's legs apart.
Okay, so.
Shut the fuck up and do it!
The attacker reaches for his knife.
Just FYI, I have my period. So, you'll have to pull the tampon out when you're ready.
The attacker pauses. A beat.
Sure, you...
Check for yourself.
The attacker freezes, hands at his side. A beat. Cassie impatiently spreads her legs. He reaches toward her, inside her pants. She never looks away. She's furious. He leans in, pushes his hand deeper. He rips his hand away, recoiling, straightens. He wipes his hand on his pants. Cassie's livid eye roll is assaulting.
Is it your bullshit plan to give me toxic shock? Be a fucking man and pull it out.
The attacker, needing to assert some control here, unclips his duct tape, looks around. He moves to the hamper, reaches in and pulls out its contents. 3 items.
Nothing in there is gonna help you pull it out, you fucking failure.
Cassie struggles against the zip ties. The attacker tosses the panties back in the hamper as if they're poisoned. He rolls the 2 socks together as best he can. He pulls a length of duct tape out with his good hand, whipping it out and down like a yo-yo to get a length to unroll itself. He shoves the socks into Cassie's unprepared mouth and roughly tapes it shut. The gag works to some degree. Cassie uses her head to aggressively indicate toward her crotch.
Get it out. Now.
The attacker bends to one knee, reaches his good hand out, palm down, like he's calming a potentially aggressive dog. He hesitates, stiffens, leans in, closer. He turns his head to one side slightly. Cassie doesn't hesitate. She drives her wounded knee into the bottom of his chin directly under the jaw. Her scream of pain is muffled. The attacker's ability to scream is non-existent. He crumbles to the floor, lays on his back. Cassie rises as far as she is able, her legs free. She kicks the attacker in the head as hard as she is able to and stops his fragile wrist. He moans, too dazed to scream. Long shot from down the hallway. Cassie wobbles, chair on her back, slightly sideways, down the hall. Her hands down, bound, her desperation profound. Tears flow, but her eyeliner does not. The door to her parents' room is open. Thank God. Cut 2. Interior, Cassie's parents' room, night. Cassie bursts into the gigantic room awkwardly, using the chair as much as she can for her benefit while dealing with the impediment it causes. Cassie swings, using the chair legs to slam the door closed. She turns, bends, rises, twists, wriggles, and finally, back facing the door, locks the latch. She looks around the room frantically. The bed is an island unto itself. High posts mark its four corners. Glass-paned French doors open onto the second-story balcony and overlook the yard. The footboard of the bed frame is insanely thick. Strong wood. Good. The patio has concrete walls with a marble balcony. Better. Cassie crosses the room. Attack opens the French doors, stumbles through. She evaluates her surroundings and positions herself to break free of her chair. She does 2 measured swings like a golfer about to tee off. She puts everything into it. Pain. The chair breaks a little, but not enough. She bears down, prepares again, swings the chair into the railing again. It breaks. Her momentum is too powerful, the chair too weakened by the first blow. Cassie tumbles over the railing toward the beautifully maintained flower bed below. Her hands, bound to annoying chunks of wood instead of a chair, do their best to break her fall. Cassie collides with the assortment of carefully selected and meticulously arranged plants. Cassie's world goes black as she faints among the fading bulbs. Cut 2. Interior, Cassie's room, night. The attacker slowly sits up, groaning. He pats down the various injured parts around his body. His ruined wrist is the worst.
Fucking gross bitch.
He slowly begins the painful journey to his feet. As he finally registers the sound of the garage door opening, he regains his ability to move much faster. Cut 2. Exterior, Cassie's open garage, night. The obnoxiously opulent luxury car moves slowly down the driveway toward the expensive garage opening. Wayne, late 50s, early 60s, fit, affable, uses the car's brake to guide and propel the rolling obscenity down the driveway. In a lesser car, he would hear the infrequent crunch of the sporadic, minuscule rocks below the massive tires. He very poorly hums Because of the Night as he negotiates his wheeled barge. Monroe, late 40s, attractive, dressed for any occasion all the time, intimidating, listens with loving annoyance. Wayne slows the beast to a near stop as the front end reaches the garage entrance. Not quite moving fast enough to inch along the diminishing macadam in front of the concrete flooring of the car's home, he millimeters towards the slight lip separating garage from driveway.
Bum 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 bum, ba da da da.
He feels the wide front tires caress the 1/8 inch separation between the two surfaces. Gently lets his foot off the brake. The tire glides across the unevenness. Monroe feels nothing.
Bum 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 bum, ba da, we're in.
Monroe laughs at her husband. Hates herself for it.
You're a special kind of jackass, Way.
Wayne keeps his visible focus on the delicate job of parking, but never places his concentration on anything too deeply to keep it away from his wife.
You have to take pride in putting it in properly.
Wayne resumes his humming. Monroe laughs harder and hates herself more.
My yoga instructor reminds me of that constantly.
Wayne responds instantly, never changing his tone or focus.
Oh, yeah. Thank him for always having you warmed up for me.
A beat. They both laugh as Wayne finally parks the car and kills the engine. They exit the car. Wayne now, for some reason, humming only the drum track to Candy's room. They approach the door to the house, off the kitchen. Split screen. The attacker waits on the other side of the door. Wayne reaches toward the door, jerkily, in order to do it before his wife can. He stops.
Hey, darling, Cassie's got a light on in the backyard.
Monroe turns, looks to the door at the back of the garage.
Maybe she's sitting out there.
Wayne smiles.
Sneaking a cigarette and drinking wine away from our prying eyes.
Monroe is empathetically defensive.
She doesn't smoke.
Wayne smiles bigger.
No, but she sneaks wine. Let's go outside and pretend we're really mad when we catch her.
Monroe sighs. There was no question in Wayne's words. Wayne unlocks the door to the backyard, holds it for his wife, and steps through. Neither looks up to see the broken patio doors. Neither looks to the garden or the tennis court. Neither sees Cassie beginning to move very slowly, trapped in some unknown nightmare amongst the flowers and the perennials.
Cassie?
No, she's not out here. Oh, for fuck's sakes.
Cut 2. Cassie's kitchen. The attacker stands between the kitchen island and the sink area, just out of sight from outside. He listens.
What?
She left the goddamn patio door wide open.
Well, she
Like, wide open.
Their voices decrease to his left, fade, begin to increase ahead of him. They're walking toward the patio doors. The attacker looks around fast.
Shit.
The attacker looks for anywhere to hide. He has to stop them from getting upstairs. No, he has to stop them from getting back to the garage.
Once they're inside, they're trapped. Okay, all right. Deal with them. Back to her.
The attacker looks up to the ceiling as the voices start to come through the patio doorway. He dives to the floor between the sink and the island. Floor level, rack focus, focus on attacker. He begins to pull out his hammer. Thinks again as something grabs his attention in the foreground. Rack focus to the knife Cassie planted under the overhanging cabinet. Rack to the attacker. The attacker grabs the knife. Cut 2. Patio entrance. Wayne and Monroe walk in. They slow upon entry, both feeling something amiss in their home. Front tracking Wayne and Monroe. They move slowly through the room, separating the patio from the kitchen, Wayne leading the way.
Cassie?
Cassie!
Static wide beyond kitchen island, facing patio room. The attacker slides himself, serpentine, around the island. Better hidden, better to ambush. He lays flat against the floor, grips the knife tightly. Wayne and Monroe reach the kitchen, turn to the front of the house. Monroe gasps. Wayne grabs her hand, pulls her tight to him. Begins to lead her through the shattered front window, the pool of broken glass, dime-sized drops of blood along the hardwood. Wayne's grip is tight and sweaty. Monroe's tear ducts have opened wide, even as she maintains her silence.
Ro, love, call 911.
Monroe removes her hand from Wayne's, reaches toward her clutch. She registers the knife being thrusted, backhanded forcefully into her abdomen, but doesn't comprehend it. The attacker removes the knife soundlessly, a waterfall of thick blood chasing it out through the new cavity. The attacker grips tight, still backhanded. Blade facing away from him, stabs it into the right side of her chest, just above her tastefully covered right breast. She's beginning to comprehend the first wound when the attacker removes the knife from the second one. Her gargled gasp breaks her husband's befuddled focus on the carnage at the front window. He turns as the attacker drops to his knees and slices Wayne's Achilles. The attacker's blade digs into the heel and draws terrible sound from its slide across the bone as it completes its journey through the rough strip of tendon. Wayne drops, screams. Cut 2. Exterior flower bed. Cassie stirs a little more. Cut 2. Interior, area between kitchen and front window, night. Monroe's screams flow silently from her mouth, inaudibly trapped in bubbles of blood. The attacker unburdens her from her clutch. Wayne, still screaming, starts to crawl away. Cannot. He turns to fight, the cell phone in his interior jacket pocket a dropped memory.
I'll fucking kill you!
Wayne's arms on their own are simply not enough. The attacker pins one arm down with his foot, neuters the other with his good elbow. The knife is long. The attacker slices Wayne's throat deeply and easily without even slightly unpinning the old man.
You've raised an incredible daughter. Own that shit. Die well.
All resistance the attacker felt from Wayne goes away. The blood puddling around Wayne's head spreads like greedy chocolate milk spilling on a straw wrapper. The attacker pats the imminent corpse, removes his phone, pats his cheek twice, jovially. Monroe looks on, dying slowly, screaming in thinning bubbles instead of sounds. The attacker moves toward Monroe, leans down to her.
You have a lovely home. I'm very, very sorry about the mess, ma'am. I'll clean it up as best I can when I finish.
The attacker starts toward the stairs.
Fuck, the garage.
To the dying Monroe laying shocked physically and mentally.
Sorry, ma'am.
The attacker runs to the sink, tosses Wayne's phone in, empties the contents of the clutch into the basin, turns on the faucet, and runs the disposal. He leaves them as he sprints toward the patio door, still carrying the knife. Cut 2. Exterior, Cassie's backyard, night. The attacker sprints past the unseen Cassie and rushes through the open garage door. He hits the button to close the bay doors. When they stop humming, locked in place, he grabs the hammer and hits the safety switch that kills the automatic mechanism. The bay door disabled, he runs back through the garage's rear entrance, locking it behind him. He runs for the master bedroom, passing Cassie's slowly recovering form as he moves. The horrible racket from the phone-clogged disposal bleeds through the kitchen window to Cassie's position. Push in towards Cassie. Cassie blinks, her eyes open. Muffled coughs jerk her body, more alert, more aware. She uses her hands, still attached to wooden chunks by hard-working zip ties, to remove her improvised gag. She does not notice the droning hum of the disposal until it abruptly stops. Cassie freezes at the sudden silence, but only for a moment. She moves quickly, removing the chunk of wood from her left wrist before trying to remove the block on her right. She is unable to do so. She grows frantic, frustrated.
Fuck me.
Cassie takes a series of deep breaths, her eyes closed. She recenters and looks around with more considered eyes. She fixes her gaze on the discarded gag. Ankle-length socks, relatively clean. Perfect. She undoes the sticky mess and ties one of the long socks tightly around her left leg, just below the knee. She double knots it for good measure.
Let's make the best of a bad situation.
She says the last word with a grunt of pain as she bends her left knee back and forth a few times, fighting the stiffness of time and swelling. She twists the loose, but nowhere near loose enough, wooden support piece on her right wrist from against the interior to the exterior. She tucks the remaining sock between the wood and her wrist. The fit is tight and painful, but firm. Cassie opens and closes her wrists a few times, moves her arm. No issues. Her range of motion is free. She touches her head with her left hand, winces. Her fingers return bloody. She uses the bottom of her blood and dust-specked t-shirt to clean her fingers. She blots at the cut next to her T, just in front of her upper ear, not quite close enough to have reached her face. The blood flows freely.
Gotta slow that.
Cassie grabs the twisted remains of the duct tape that held her mouth and straightens it as best she can. She tears off a large piece. She applies it to the wound, pushes tight, and tapes it in place with these artifacts of the gag that tried to silence her. The blood flowing down her face stops. Her hands are clean. Cassie looks toward the house.
Not gonna make it easy, you needle-dicked fuck.
Cassie carefully pats the area around her, looking for something. She picks up a sharp-ish rock. No good. A small pointy piece of chair. Won't work. Her hand pats down on something intriguing. She carefully picks up a small, razor-sharp shard of glass and holds it reverently, twisting it in the light, her eyes admiring its perfection. Cassie grabs for something in her pants pockets. Pleasure rises to her face as she realizes her attacker either didn't search her or searched her poorly. She removes the applicator, squeezes the end. The round, five-toothed lamprey end opens invitingly. She strategically places the shard inside as advantageously as she can and releases her grip. The tiny plastic teeth bite it gently. She rips off another piece of her would-be gag, securing the shard in place. Her makeshift scalpel ready to inflict damage. Cassie slides the plunger out, giving her weapon some more length. She uses the remainder of the tape to secure the plunger in its most extended position. Her weapon was reach. She can wield it. She will wield it. Cut 2. Interior, main stairwell, night. The attacker inspects the dead Wayne and almost dead, but non-troubling, Monroe. He rifles Wayne's pockets, finding an expensive-looking money clip with a few $100s and a platinum Amex inside, and a pathetically oversized Bentley key fob. The remainder of his pockets are empty. Seeing the life in Monroe's eyes, the attacker appears physically ashamed.
Oh, ma'am, no, I'm no thief. I'd never steal from you. I just had to make sure he didn't have anything useful I could borrow.
Monroe's supremely shocked eyes look at the attacker with confusion that is total.
Here, I'll just...
The attacker looks around, sees no surface but the windowsill. He turns back to Monroe, holding the clip and fob up, with as few fingers as possible to show open palms.
I'll leave them right here.
The attacker gently places the fob and clip on the windowsill, but not a single bill or card removed. He pauses, sees the rolling pin against the window frame. He tucks the kitchen knife into a spot on his belt. He reaches for and grips the rolling pin, surprised at its weight.
I'll need to borrow this, though. I'll be right back with it.
The attacker checks the bottom of his shoes to make sure he isn't tracking blood, and starts up the staircase. Cut 2. Interior, Cassie's parents' bedroom, moments later. The doorknob rattles. Silence. The attacker kicks the door in and bursts cautiously through, Cassie's weapon in hand. He turns on the lights and surveys the room.
Come out, wherever you are.
Cut 2. Exterior, Cassie's backyard, night. Cassie sees a chunk of the backyard bathed in light. She has no intention of accepting this invitation. She gets to her feet and hobbles in a more efficient and confident manner with her sock-wrapped knee, hugging the house as she approaches the patio. She reaches the open door and resumes her previous position behind the giant floor vase next to the fireplace. Cut 2. Interior, Cassie's parents' bedroom. The attacker sees the broken patio doors, glass, wooden chair bits. He walks quickly toward the balcony railing and peers over. Nothing there.
You've gotta be fucking kidding me, Michael Myers, bitch.
The attacker turns and quickly leaves the bedroom. Cut 2. Interior, main stairwell, night. The attacker reaches the bottom of the stairs, still carrying the rolling pin. He notices that something like life is still in Monroe's vacant eyes. He speaks to them.
Your daughter's a real pain in the ass, ma'am. Pardon my language.
The attacker looks to the window. He walks to it, bends to the floor, and scoops up several fistful of glass shards from the shattered vase, using his gloved hands to protect himself. He tosses these onto the windowsill, brushes and scatters them over the surface. The attacker, satisfied with the work he's done, turns around. He looks at Monroe's eyes, the life in them clearly on E. He puts his palms to his cheeks in a Kevin McAllister pantomime.
Sorry, ma'am. I couldn't help myself there.
The attacker looks to the front door. The gap filler is still intact.
She hasn't left through the front door.
The attacker again examines the various blood pools. Spatters, spray.
No footprints.
The attacker walks toward the kitchen, stops. He bends down and lovingly loves Monroe's cheek. If she's still breathing, he cannot see it. She slowly blinks once. Whatever abilities her eyes had to see the image before she returned home that night has exited. He whispers to Monroe.
She's still here.
He pats her cheek hard. Her blinking has stopped. Her eyes begin to glaze.
Don't tell her which way I went now, Mommy.
The attacker rises and moves to the kitchen. Cut 2. Interior, inside patio, night. Cassie hears the sound of whispers coming from the attacker. She hears every footstep. She will not answer. She does not move. She readies her scalpel, glass blade up, the opposite way her mother taught her as a child. She holds it in a way that makes accidents happen. Her parents will be home any minute now. If the attacker finds her, she will fight. Cut 2. Interior, Cassie's kitchen. The attacker checks the gap filler on the door between the kitchen and the garage. Still intact. The attacker nonchalantly moves to the kitchen window. All is normal. He yells into the house.
You're still around here somewhere.
His words float through the large open rooms. They reach far away to the other end of the first floor. They reach farther to Cassie's side of the large fireplace, behind her giant vase. The source of the words are from Cassie's safe space, but they are far too close for comfort. If the source of the words reaches Cassie, she will fight. Cut 2. Exterior SUV, night. Lewis's SUV pulls into Cassie's driveway and parks to the driver's side of Cassie's Jeep. His headlights illuminate slivers of wall space throughout the house, along with the attacker in the kitchen. Neither Lewis nor Madison notice. Inside the mansion, all living occupants notice. Monroe's glazed eyes lay lit but unreflective. They rest impassively in slowly sinking sockets, basked in beams of light bouncing off of broken glass, off of the regularly cleaned metallic surfaces and from the deepest sections of cooling blood pools. The lights cut off along with the engine. Cassie's lifted Jeep blocks Lewis and Madison's view of the shattered front window. Madison's anger, mixed with her absorption in her phone's screen, block any other potential signs from her view.
Anything yet?
Madison sighs in frustrated response. Lewis nods.
Looks like most of the lights are off. Her car's here.
Yeah, but her bedroom light's on.
Madison points over her shoulder for emphasis.
This bitch is ignoring me.
Lewis has no answers, and wisely avoids improvising one.
It's not going straight to voicemail either. She's just fucking ignoring me for some reason.
Lewis turns toward her, some confidence in her tone.
She have a laptop or tablet in there?
Yeah, she has a laptop and always has a tablet on her for writing or watching movies.
FaceTimer.
Madison looks at Lewis curiously.
You know, with her home, the Wi-Fi, odds are a FaceTime call will make them all ring.
It does that?
Well, most people, yeah. Like by default, and they don't turn it off.
Madison smiles at her man.
You sexy genius.
Madison opened Cassie's contact on her phone screen. Lewis watches. He has developed a vested interest in whatever Cassie's problem is with his girlfriend. Madison taps the FaceTime icon. A winking bitmoji of Cassie fills most of the phone screen. The annoyed, dedicated FaceTime jingle begins to play through Madison's phone speaker, as well as Cut 2. Interior kitchen night, loudly from somewhere on the kitchen island. The attacker, shocked, drops the rolling pin before quickly bending and picking it back up. On the other side of the first floor, Cassie jerks in shock at the unexpected combination of noises. She bumps the vase in her terror. It barely moves, barely audible. She has no idea if the attacker is heard. The attacker reaches into the suddenly screaming bag on the counter. The screaming intensifies as he removes the agitated tablet from the bag. The word Maddie with a rainbow parade of heart emojis is digitally written across the top. A picture of Madison drinking directly from a bottle of wine fills the background. The attacker peeks around the corner into the driveway where the uninvited car so recently parked. He does not mistake its soundlessness and darkness for absence. He moves quickly across the kitchen to the basement door with the ceaseless jingle scoring his path. He smashes the tablet against the wall. Once, it keeps ringing. Twice, it stops. The attacker tosses a spastic device down the stairs. He looks around, planning. Cut 2. Exterior SUV, night.
Unfucking believable.
Lewis is fully invested. He's angry at Cassie for his own reasons, not just due to sympathy for his girlfriend.
Call her mom.
Yes.
Madison taps, opens, scrolls, taps, waits only a moment.
Straight to voicemail.
Her dad?
At this point...
A beat. Madison trails off, hurt mixed with concern, mixed with anger.
Baby, we're here. Let's just go knock on the door.
Madison looks at him, agreeably surprised.
Let's do it.
Madison and Lewis exit the vehicle. Smash cut 2. Interior patio room, night. The sound of the closing doors flies through the broken window and fans out to Cassie and her attacker. Cassie perks up considerably behind her vase, her eyes wide, hopeful.
Daddy.
Match cut 2. Interior kitchen, night.
Maddie.
Whip pan between vase and kitchen from empty dining area. The attacker moves toward the garage entry door, tucks the rolling pin under his bad hand, and uses the kitchen knife to cut the expansion foam from around its knob. He reholsters the knife, regrips his rolling pin. He smashes the knob with 2 good whacks. The knob no longer moves smoothly, but it moves. He quickly opens and closes it loudly, then moves toward the darkened area of the main entryway. He waits to see who will step into his trap first. Cut 2. Exterior driveway, night. Madison leads Lewis with her toward the garage door.
Should we try the front door?
Madison doesn't slow or turn as she answers.
They never use it, and I want to see if her dad's car's here.
Madison reaches the garage and peeks through the window. Despite the faint light, the hulking figure of the opulent sedan is unmistakable.
They're here. Kitchen light's on. Her light's on. Car's here.
Madison absently puts her phone in the rear right pocket of her jeans and taps keys on a discreet lockbox. The box opens obediently and she removes the key. She unlocks the door between the driveway and the garage area. Lewis shows sudden reservations.
Hey,
Madison directs her attention toward him. Her rising anger does not accompany the look.
Her mom texted me last night and told me she expected to see me tonight. Expected. Her word. Something's fucked here.
Lewis loses any semblance of disagreement.
Do you want me to wait out here?
No, her mom wants to meet you, even she's having a fucking thing.
Madison lets them into the garage. Cut 2. Interior patio doors, night. 5 quick knocks rush across the first floor to Cassie. She very, very slowly leans forward, peeking her eye toward the direction of the sound. She looks to the patio door, back to the kitchen. A flurry of knocks from the kitchen.
Cassie? Mrs. Reynolds?
A pause. Smash cut 2. Interior garage, night.
Go look out the back door, hon. See if they're out there.
A series of knocks.
Lou and I are here, and we just want to make sure Cassie's okay quick before we head out.
Madison turns the knob and opens the door. The knob feels broken, but it turns. The door opens inward several inches under the force of its freedom.
I think they're out here. Bunch of lights on.
Madison lets go of the knob and joins Lewis at the back of the garage. She undoes the lock on the rear door and leads Lewis out into the backyard. Smash cut 2. Interior, main stairwell, night. The attacker must control the situation. 3 people now, and at least 1 phone.
One thing at a time.
The attacker moves silently toward the kitchen. Cassie watches her attacker, carrying her rolling pin, walk toward the door to the garage and disappear through it. Cassie dashes out from behind her vase and tiptoe speed hobbles across the rooms in the direction of the kitchen. She ducks behind the table, out of sight of both kitchen and patio, waiting for an exit to her escape to open. Cut 2. Interior garage, night. The attacker moves to the open back door, through which Madison and Lewis have not ventured far. He hears the couple talking as he approaches and steps between Wayne's front bumper and the back of the garage, secure in the shadows.
No, I'm telling you something is wrong.
I understand, but...
Quiet beeping interrupts.
Shit, it's Warren texting.
A beat.
I can never text on these fucking things.
Holy shit, we're really late.
A beat.
Just go get your phone and call him.
Yeah, but...
Wait out front. Front door's one thing. Dragging some guy through the back door?
Okay, baby. Text me when you're ready.
A fading set of grass-cushioned footsteps intermingles with a rising set of grass-cushioned footsteps in the dark garage. Lewis continues to read his watch message as he reaches the rear garage door and distractedly steps through. The attacker makes a clicking noise. Lewis begins to turn his face slightly in that direction as the attacker swings the rolling pin. Lewis doesn't react to the rolling pin as it drives many of his orbital, nasal, and other assorted frontal bones deep into his brain, along with a sizable portion of his face and most of his left eye. The few functioning portions of the brain remaining in his skull are destroyed when the back of his head strikes the unforgiving garage floor. If Lewis is still alive, he doesn't know it. Smash cut 2. Exterior, backyard, night. The sound of Lewis's brutal murder does not register as noteworthy to Madison as she makes her way across the lawn. She steps onto the patio steps. Her low, stylish wedges click against the gorgeous stonework and echo throughout the home's interior. Smash cut 2. Interior, Cassie's dining room, night. Cassie does not know the source of the footsteps and has no desire to find out. She bare steps quickly toward the kitchen and ducks alongside a cabinet, low to the floor, positioned to attack. She is one room closer to freedom. She scans the area for the attacker, for Madison or even the mysterious Lou. Her eyes fall on something at the front foyer. Floor level wide of Cassie from front of house, her parents laying dead and mutilated in the foreground. Cassie's scream manifests itself in body-wide physical shakes and clenches since it cannot do so in her vocal cords. Her eyes spill tears. Her convulsions and internal anguish are merely fabric-cushioned slaps on the tiled floor and against the cabinet. One set of footprints approaches. They bring no words with them. Cassie wants nothing more than to fight. The footsteps from the patio are one room closer. She is focused on those steps.
Cassie?
Cassie prepares to come out of hiding and greet Madison. Smash cut 2. Neither woman hears the attacker sneak through the open door between the kitchen and the garage. Neither woman hears him sneak around the well-known first floor into a position in the darkness of one of the many rooms between the two women. Smash cut 2. Cassie knows she must warn Madison. She leaves the safety of her hiding space to warn, to get help, and, if needed, to fight. Smash cut 2. Madison is shocked and terrified at the sight of Cassie. Her jaw drops as she looks at the beaten, bloodied woman with a yellow thing in her hand and a chunk of wood around her wrist.
What the fuck?
The attacker springs from the darkness and jabs the kitchen knife into the small of Madison's back, deep. Madison drops to her knees, gasping for air, knife embedded. The attacker has no further need for it. Cassie decides to fight. The attacker removes the knife he came with, his knife, and casually slits Madison's throat. Cassie moves as quickly as she can to close the distance and gets in one good stab with her scalpel. The glass sinks into the meat of his good shoulder and breaks off. The attacker groans. Cassie punches him hard. The attacker wastes no time and punches Cassie much harder. Cassie strikes the dining floor hard, dazed. The attacker pulls her to her feet, ignoring the pain in his shoulder and in his bad hand. He locks Cassie's neck between his arm and body, locking it in place with his good arm. Cassie's breath is shut off. Cassie's world continues to fade away. Her attacker watches this in the giant mirror of the formal dining room, Cassie's favorite room aside from her own. Cassie watches the attacker watch. Cassie weakly reaches down, grabs the bottom of her t-shirt and pulls it up, revealing her stomach. In the mirror, a backward word written in bright red lipstick appears frontward in the mirror. Sweet. The attacker releases her neck, lowers Cassie to her back, quickly but gently, tosses both parts of his mask off. Over-the-shoulder attacker. Cassie inhales deeply and coughs violently on the rough exhale.
Baby, oh my God, are you okay?
He pats her on the back, looks up at him, nods, coughs. The attacker hugs Cassie hard.
Oh my God, baby, that was so rough. Your head and... You went out the window. Fuck, baby, I was so fucking worried.
Cassie's cough's slow. Her breathing approaches normal.
You won, baby.
Over the shoulder, Cassie. The word sweet is written in black grease paint across the attacker's forehead. The attacker hugs her tight again. Her strength partially returned. She hugs him back. They both have tears in their eyes as they pull away. They kiss deeply and passionately.
You were so amazing tonight, babe.
No, baby, it was incredible to have to watch you tonight. I would have quit after the hedge. A fucking rolling pin. If I didn't get lucky and get that leg, I would have been done.
Cassie smiles flirtatiously.
It was my pep talk. Made a new man out of you.
The attacker smiles back.
I love you so much.
Cassie caresses the attacker's cheek.
I love you too, baby.
The loving couple kisses again.
Help me clean up. Let's get the fuck out of here.
Interior, bathroom, night. Cassie and her partner clean up what they can in the cavernous double vanity. Cassie looks at attacker's failing attempts to get the word off his forehead. He has only smudged it offensively.
Soap's never gonna get that off, babe. Use the mineral water. That clear stuff there.
She points to a bottle with the word micellar on it. She hands him thin, round cotton pads.
Dab it with these.
The attacker obliges.
You have to do this every time you wear makeup?
Yeah.
I'm sorry if I ever gave you any shit about taking too long to get ready.
Cassie smiles.
You didn't.
The attacker smiles back.
No, but I thought it a couple times, so I'm sorry about that.
Cassie tiptoes up and kisses the attacker behind his ear.
If you remembered the kit, you're forgiven.
The attacker grins.
On my back.
Cassie pulls up the attacker's shirt. His small black nylon duffel bag sits attached with a homemade sling on the small of his back.
Just unclipped it. Bingo.
Cassie places the small but well-stocked duffel on the countertop. She removes a first aid kit. Then, with a questioning look, a tire iron.
You never know.
How'd you make the strap or whatever for,
I used one for my bolt quiver. For the crossbow, you know?
Cassie looks reminiscently impressed and proud.
from that thing in Brainerd?
The attacker nods, a look of pride rising to his face.
Oh, I figured I shouldn't let it go to waste.
Cassie slaps the attacker's ass playfully. The attacker's smile broadens. Cassie opens the first aid kit and pulls out a pair of surgical scissors. She begins to carefully cut away the attacker's duct-taped gauntlets.
We can't forget the bike lock.
Keys in the bag.
A beat.
This shit works great.
The attacker looks in wonder at the disappearing blackness on his forehead. Cassie winces, preparing for the worst as she cuts through the remainder of the thick ring of duct tape. She removes the duct tape. Some chips of the rhodonite crystal bracelet stick to its adhesive interior as other chips fall to the floor and scatter onto the counter. Some fall into the basin. Cassie lets out a very deep sigh of relief. Her eyes tear up.
Honey, are you okay?
Yeah, I was positive I broke your wrist back there.
The attacker turns to Cassie, caresses her. He speaks to her with tender earnestness.
Baby, it hurt like hell. But my arm was moving down, so yeah, if it hit against the tree or the ground, shattered. But it just hurt like hell. It's fine.
Cassie is crying tears of gratitude. She wants to believe this.
The cracking?
The attacker looks shamed and upset.
Yeah, but the crystals didn't all break. It looks pretty this way. It'll be a nice reminder. And, follow the rules. Just go with it.
Cassie smiles a little.
I love you so much.
Cassie hugs him tight.
I love you too. Always.
Cassie goes to work on the attacker's scalpel wound. Cut 2. Interior, kitchen, later. Cassie rinses blood and gore from the rolling pin with attentive care. The arms of her faded purple Astro Snake hoodie pushed up to protect against any crimson splashes. In the background, the attacker enters through the patio door, closing it behind him. He carries a dark object in one hand and removes a spray bottle from his nylon duffel with the other. As he enters the dining room area in the background, he begins spraying the ground around Madison's cold body. Cassie continues cleaning the rolling pin. She does not look away from her task.
All good?
The attacker yells to be heard.
Yeah, just spraying down the blood. Outside is clear. Got to take care of the rents.
Cassie laughs hard at this.
Fucking nerd.
The attacker is encouraged by the laughter. He does a rough approximation of Lewis's voice.
Gee, Mr. and Mrs. Reynolds, it was a real pleasure to meet you folks tonight.
The attacker suddenly dons a bad Brooklyn Italian accent.
I didn't mean to get blood on your floor.
Cassie laughs hard, although she has no idea of whom the attacker is doing impressions. He is happy, he is funny. Cassie is very happy. She turns off the water and lovingly dries the rolling pin.
You're such a fucking nerd.
The attacker enters the kitchen, bike lock still in one hand, and cuddles up behind Cassie as though she is doing the dishes following some wonderful meal they have just enjoyed.
Why are you cleaning that? It's just going to burn.
Cassie leans back into him, loving the feeling of her weight being supported by her soulmate. She adopts a very flirty, pleading tone. She even blinks her eyes repeatedly for several seconds to complete the effect.
You got to keep the crossbow. And all the crossbow accessories.
Yeah, that thing's pretty fucking great.
Right?
Cassie's joyful mood abandons her suddenly.
What about the balcony?
The attacker cuts her off gently.
You didn't see the gas fireplace up there?
Cassie's mood U-turns sharply. It passes joyful as her smile turns sinister.
Where are we putting your truck, buddy? How heavy is he?
It's the attacker's turn to smile sinisterly.
He drove his car right into the front door. Went crazy.
The attacker rubs his chin in mock thought.
Way I figure it, he was jealous of her college love and lost it. Dad put up a fight, but element of surprise, cut gas line, etc.
Cassie kisses the attacker. As they untangle from the embrace, the attacker takes his mask parts and looks around the room.
What are you doing?
Where should I ditch these?
No. I swear, the fucking moment I saw that mask.
Cassie makes a sound identical to when she takes the first bite of a perfectly prepared steak.
Drenched.
The attacker smiles at her. He returns the mask portions to his duffel.
Where's your phone?
In Barbie's Jeep.
Cassie and the attacker walk off screen. The carnage of the home is clear in every room they have entered this evening. Cut 2. Exterior, forest, night. Cassie and the attacker sit on the open tailgate of a stolen red Jeep. Lit by fire, the two enjoy a bottle of champagne. Cassie leans her head on the attacker's shoulder.
You held way back on that hammerhead.
The attacker sips his champagne.
Yeah, but if I actually knocked you unconscious, that could be serious. I mean, if you go unconscious...
The attacker trails off. Cassie sips, swallows.
Automatic lose?
The attacker holds out his champagne glass as he nods. Cassie taps it gently with her own.
If you would have just choked me out instead of hit me with a hammer, I probably would have gotten off...
Cassie snaps her fingers.
Instantly.
The attacker looks slightly disappointed. Cassie senses the look.
But that hammer was so fucking ballsy. I got off as soon as the slight days wore off.
Cassie looks back to the fire.
3 months?
This took 3. I'd say 5. 4 quickest. This one was fucking close.
Yeah. But you finally won one.
The attacker smiles.
Yeah.
His eyes widen.
1 time out. New record.
Cassie smiles.
Yeah. Holy shit, you're right. Just the one.
The attacker sips his champagne.
I had to. The hammer. It was... Oh, I had to make sure I didn't knock you out.
Cassie turns to him in a comforting posture.
Baby, no. It was the right call. And then you didn't have to carry me upstairs. Imagine if you slipped or hurt your back.
The attacker looks at her with eyes meant to ward off patronization.
Seriously, I loved walking up with you. Checking in quick.
Yeah, that helped a lot.
Cassie looks back to the attacker, smiles coyly. Long shot of Cassie and the attacker on the tailgate. The large green duffel bag that Cassie dragged into the bed of the truck earlier that day burns in the fire. Its contents is clearly a body. The real Cassie's body.
Besides, that gave me a minute to devise the whole period thing.
The attacker looks at her with proud surprise.
I knew it wasn't that time.
You wouldn't care if it was.
The attacker looks appalled.
Of course not, but...
Just go with it.
Cheers to that.
They clink glasses. Cassie finishes her champagne, tossing the flute into the fire.
Speaking of...
Cassie looks to her waist, to the attacker, back again.
Take it out.
The attacker looks confused for a second.
Take it out.
Camera pushes in through the flames. The attacker leaps from the tailgate and quickly positions himself between Cassie's legs. Camera pushes until we only see Cassie's upper half through the flames. The attacker removes Cassie's pants and anything else impeding his goal. The attacker goes down on Cassie as she gazes into the flames. In the distant background, just as Cassie approaches her climax, there is a large explosion. Fade to black. Blackness. The sounds of Cassie's climax mix with the rumbling aftermath and emergency response sounds of the exploding house ringing out in the valley below.